Jack Walker sat in the cockpit of his ship, Liberty Dawn, staring at the stars. Space was quiet tonight, too quiet. The glow of distant suns lit the black sky like tiny lanterns. Jack leaned back, boots on the console, drinking cheap coffee. He had been running cargo jobs for months, staying away from trouble, staying away from the war zones. But deep down, Jack wanted more. He wanted adventure, something that would make his name known across the stars. Then it happened. The radio hissed. A strange voice came through, low, broken, and not quite human. 7 worlds. 7 trials. Reach them before others do. The first to finish, claims everything. Jack sat up, coffee spilling on the floor. What the hell was that, he muttered. The message repeated, louder this time. The voice sounded urgent, almost like a warning. Then the transmission cut out. Silence filled the ship. Jack's heart raced. He knew what this meant, a challenge. Not just for him, but for every explorer, scavenger, and treasure hunter out there. If he could find those 7 worlds first, whatever prize waited at the end could change his life forever. He smiled, wiped the coffee off his console, and started the engines. All right, Liberty Dawn. Looks like we just got a job. The ship roared to life, shaking slightly as it powered up. But Jack wasn't the only one who heard the signal. Far away, another ship woke up. A black, silent craft with no name and no markings. Its engines glowed red as it turned toward the same destination. Jack pulled up the navigation chart. The signal carried coordinates, a star system far beyond the normal trade routes. It was risky. Pirates and smugglers loved to hide in that part of space. But Jack didn't care. If they want a race, he said to himself, then they've got one. He strapped in and pushed the throttle. Liberty Dawn jumped into warp space, leaving a trail of blue light behind. The stars blurred. Space stretched into streaks of silver and white. The ship hummed with power as Jack watched the timer tick down. He could feel it, adventure was waiting. After several hours, Liberty Dawn dropped out of warp. The first planet hung before him, a massive desert world bathed in orange light. Planet Solara, Jack said softly, reading the name off the chart. The surface was covered in endless dunes, with storms moving like angry beasts. From orbit, the planet looked dead. But his sensors told a different story. There was a signal down there, deep under the sand. Jack prepared for landing. The ship rattled as it entered the atmosphere, fire licking across the hull. He gripped the controls, steadying the descent. Finally, Liberty Dawn landed on a flat stretch of desert. The engines cooled with a hiss. Jack grabbed his gear, a plasma rifle, a scanner, and a small pack of supplies. He opened the hatch and stepped outside. The wind hit him first. It was hot and dry, full of fine sand that stung his face. The dunes stretched forever, glowing under the twin suns. Let's find that signal, he said, scanning the horizon. His scanner beeped, pointing toward the largest dune to the east. Jack started walking, boots sinking into the sand. The sound of the wind was strange. It wasn't just noise, it almost sounded like whispering. Like voices carried through the air. Jack stopped and listened. Nothing. Just the wind. He shook his head and kept walking, but the feeling stayed with him. Someone or something was watching. Hours passed. Jack reached the base of the dune. The scanner beeped faster now. Whatever he was looking for was buried deep below. He set up a small drilling unit and activated it. The machine whirred, boring into the sand. Suddenly, the ground shook. Jack stumbled, nearly falling. The dune shifted, collapsing on one side. From beneath the sand, a massive stone structure appeared, an ancient ruin, half buried. Jack's heart pounded. This was it. This was what the signal wanted him to find. He approached carefully, Rifle ready. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the stone surface. The entrance was dark, almost inviting. Jack took a deep breath and stepped inside. The ruin was silent. Dust floated in the air, glowing in the light of his torch. Strange carvings lined the walls, pictures of stars, planets, and creatures Jack had never seen. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal. A small crystal pulsed with blue light, as if alive. Jack reached out and touched it. The crystal flared, projecting a hologram into the air. A figure appeared, tall, cloaked, face hidden. Its voice echoed through the chamber. First world found. 6 remain. Others are coming. Hurry. The hologram vanished. The crystal dimmed. Jack grabbed it and stuffed it into his pack. Then he heard something outside. Engines. He rushed to the entrance and looked out. A ship had landed near Liberty Dawn, a sleek, silver craft with black stripes. A man in combat armor stepped out. Jack recognized him immediately, Agent Harris, a rival explorer known for playing dirty. Harris spotted Jack and smirked. "Walker," he called out over the wind. "Looks like we're on the same hunt." Jack cursed under his breath. This race just got a lot more dangerous. Jack stood at the entrance of the ruin, staring at Agent Harris. The hot wind blew between them, carrying sand like tiny knives. Harris took slow steps forward, his boots sinking into the dune. He had a smug grin on his face, like a man who thought he was already winning. "You got here fast, Walker," Harris said. "Guess I'm just better," Jack shot back. Harris chuckled. "Don't get too proud. This place isn't yours. I'm taking that crystal." Jack's hand went to his rifle. "You can try." Before Harris could answer, the ground shook again. The ruin trembled, dropping bits of stone from the ceiling. Jack didn't wait. He sprinted back into the ruin, heading for Liberty Dawn. Harris cursed and ran after him. Outside, the wind grew stronger. A massive sandstorm was forming on the horizon, rolling toward them like a wall. Jack reached his ship first. He jumped into the cockpit, started the engines, and powered up the shields. Harris's ship, a sleek silver craft called the Talon, lifted off just seconds later. Both ships fought against the raging storm as it slammed into them. Lightning flashed across the sky, and sand hit the hull like bullets. Inside Liberty Dawn, alarms blared. "Shields dropping," the computer warned. Jack gritted his teeth. "Not now," he muttered, pulling the throttle hard. He had to escape the storm and get off this planet before Harris caught up, or worse, shot him out of the sky. Suddenly, something beeped on the console. "Incoming missile." Jack's eyes went wide. "Harris, you son of a..." He yanked the controls to the right. The missile streaked past, exploding in the sand below and sending up a huge fireball. Harris's voice came through the COMM. "Nothing personal, Walker. But there's only room for one winner." Jack growled and rolled Liberty Dawn to dodge another shot. He fired back, not to hit Harris, just to keep him busy. Blue plasma bolts lit up the storm, tearing through the sky. The storm grew worse. Visibility dropped to almost zero. Jack switched to instruments, flying blind. The Talon stayed on his tail, trying to lock on again. "Think, Jack," he muttered. Then he saw it, a canyon just a few miles away. If he could get there before Harris, the walls might block missile locks. Jack pushed the engines to full power, the ship screaming as it raced toward the canyon. Harris followed, closing in. The canyon loomed ahead, dark, narrow, and deadly. Jack dove inside. The walls flashed by so close they almost scraped the wings. Behind him, Harris's ship entered the canyon too. The chase was on. Jack weaved left and right, dodging falling rocks as the storm tore apart the canyon above. Harris fired again, but the narrow walls made it hard to aim. One shot hit close, shaking Liberty Dawn and throwing Jack against the controls. "Hold together, girl," Jack said, patting the dashboard. Suddenly, the scanner beeped. A massive cave was coming up big enough to hide a ship. Jack grinned. Perfect. He cut engines just before reaching the cave and let the ship drift inside, silent. The Talon flew past, not realizing Jack had stopped. Jack waited until Harris was gone, then powered back up quietly and took off in the opposite direction. Back in open sky, Jack breathed hard. That was too close, he said to himself. He set course for orbit. As Liberty Dawn climbed, the storm finally started to clear. The twin suns broke through, lighting the desert below. Jack looked at the crystal in his pack. It pulsed faintly, almost like it was alive. "One planet down," he said. 6 to go. But Harris wasn't done. Hours later, as Jack left Solara's orbit, his ship's sensors beeped again. A small device was attached to the hull, a tracker. "Damn it," Jack said. Harris must have planted it during the chase. Jack ripped the device off and threw it into space. But now Harris knew where he was heading, at least for the next planet. "Fine," Jack muttered. "If it's a race he wants, it's a race he'll get." He entered the next set of coordinates from the crystal. This one pointed to a water world far beyond the rim. Jack smiled. "Hope you can swim, Harris." He pushed the throttle. Liberty Dawn jumped to warp, vanishing into the stars. Liberty Dawn came out of warp, and Jack's eyes widened. Before him floated Aqua 9, a world of endless water. No land, no mountains, no cities, just a deep, glowing ocean that reflected the light of a pale blue sun. "Well, this is new," Jack said softly. The planet looked calm from orbit, but his sensors showed storms under the surface, giant waves moving far below. Jack grabbed the crystal from Solara. It pulsed brighter, projecting a faint map in the air. The signal came from deep beneath Aqua 9's ocean floor. "Figures," Jack muttered. "Never easy." He loaded up his gear and prepared Sea Dart, a small submersible attached to Liberty Dawn. The hatch opened, and Jack lowered the sub into the water. The instant Sea Dart touched the surface, Aqua 9 came alive. The water glowed faintly, full of tiny lights like stars. Schools of strange fish darted past, glowing blue and green. Jack smiled despite himself. "Well, at least it's pretty." He dove deeper, following the scanner. The water grew darker. The only light came from the glowing fish and the occasional flash of something bigger, much deeper. Jack's hands stayed tight on the controls. After a long descent, he saw it, a massive structure rising from the ocean floor. It looked like a city, but alien, with tall spires and smooth, curved walls. Coral and strange plants grew all over it, making it glow in a ghostly light. Jack guided Sea Dart toward the entrance. "Just like Solara," he whispered. "Another ruin." The sub's lights revealed a giant archway with glowing runes. The scanner beeped wildly. The clue was inside. Jack parked the sub and put on his dive suit. The water was cold as he stepped out, but the suit kept him warm. His boots crunched on the seafloor as he made his way inside. Inside the ruin, everything was quiet, too quiet. Jack's torch cut through the darkness, revealing carvings of waves, moons, and strange sea creatures. At the center stood a pedestal, just like on Solara. Another crystal sat there, pulsing gently. Jack approached slowly. "All right, let's get this over with." He reached out and grabbed it. The crystal lit up, projecting a hologram into the water, the same cloaked figure as before. "Second world found. 5 remain. Others are near. Beware the Guardian." Then it vanished. Jack frowned. "Guardian." The water around him suddenly moved. A deep, low sound echoed through the ruin. The sand shook beneath his boots. From the darkness outside, something enormous moved closer. Jack backed away slowly, heart pounding. Then he saw it, two glowing eyes, each the size of a dinner plate. A massive shape swam into view, a creature with tentacles longer than his ship, teeth like swords, and glowing marks on its body. The Guardian. Oh, hell. Jack sprinted back to Sea Dart, swimming as fast as he could. The creature roared, a sound that shook the water. Its tentacles shot forward, smashing into the ground behind him. Jack dove into the sub and slammed the hatch shut. Go, go, go. The engines roared as Sea Dart shot upward. The Guardian followed, fast. Jack weaved left and right, trying to lose it in the ruined city. Tentacles whipped past, smashing walls and sending clouds of debris into the water. A piece of coral slammed into the sub, cracking the glass. Hold together, girl, Jack growled, gripping the controls. He fired the sub's flares. Bright flashes lit the water, distracting the creature just long enough for Jack to speed out of the city. But the Guardian wasn't done. It followed him all the way to the surface. Jack burst out of the water, Sea Dart landing hard on the waves. He triggered the recall system. Liberty Dawn dropped a cable and reeled him back aboard. As soon as Sea Dart was secure, Jack jumped into the cockpit. Engines on. Liberty Dawn lifted off just as the Guardian breached the water behind him, sending a massive wave into the sky. Jack barely cleared the atmosphere, breathing hard. He looked at the new crystal in his hand. It glowed faintly, as if proud of what he had survived. 2 down, Jack said. 5 to go. Then the radar beeped. Another ship had just entered orbit, the Talon. Harris. Of course, Jack muttered. Harris's voice came through the COMM. Heard you woke up the Guardian, Walker. You always know how to make trouble. Jack smiled darkly. Stay close, Harris. Next planet's going to be even worse. He locked in the next set of coordinates and jumped to warp. Behind him, Aqua 9 grew smaller until it vanished into the stars. Liberty Dawn dropped out of warp, and the view made Jack shiver even before he felt the cold. The planet below was a frozen ball of white frostbane. Endless blizzards swirled over the surface, and giant cracks glowed faintly blue, hinting at heat deep below the ice. Looks cozy, Jack muttered. He checked the crystal from Aqua 9. The light pointed to one of the glowing cracks deep in the northern hemisphere. Jack took a breath and started the descent. The landing was rough. Frostbane's atmosphere screamed against Liberty Dawn's hull, shaking the ship. By the time he landed, the snow was already covering the landing struts. Jack geared up. This time, he needed a heavy winter suit, oxygen supply, and a heated rifle. When he stepped outside, the cold hit like a hammer. The wind roared, nearly knocking him over. Snow whipped across the ground so fast it looked like smoke. This planet does not want me here, he said through gritted teeth. His scanner pointed toward a deep ice canyon a few miles away. Jack started walking. Each step crunched loudly. His breath fogged his helmet. Halfway to the canyon, the sound changed. The wind died for a second, too quiet. Then came a distant howl. Jack froze. Another howl, closer this time. Through the snow, he saw glowing shapes moving just beneath the surface, long, wolf-like shadows sliding under the ice. Great, Jack muttered. Ice wolves. Of course. The scanner beeped urgently. The shapes were circling him. One of them burst through the ice behind him, leaping with glowing blue eyes and jagged teeth. Jack rolled and fired. The heated shot hit its chest, sending it back under the ice with a screech. But more were coming. Jack ran. The wolves broke through the ice one by one, chasing him across the snow. Jack fired again and again, hitting a few, but there were too many. He spotted a cave at the edge of the canyon and dove inside. The wolves stopped at the entrance, pacing back and forth. They didn't like the cave too much heat. Jack caught his breath and pressed deeper inside. The cave led him down into a massive cavern. Steam rose from cracks in the floor, lighting the walls with an eerie blue glow. At the center was another pedestal, another crystal waiting for him. Jack stepped forward carefully. He grabbed the crystal and the same cloaked figure appeared again. Third world found. 4 remain. The trials grow harder. Only the worthy will survive. Jack's chest tightened. Worthy of what? He asked out loud. This time, the figure turned its head slightly, as if it heard him. A choice that will change your kind forever, it said. Then it vanished. Jack stood there in silence. Change my kind forever? What does that mean? Before he could think more, footsteps crunched behind him. Jack spun, rifle ready, but it wasn't a wolf. It was Harris. Harris raised his hands. Relax, Walker. If I wanted to shoot you, I'd have done it outside. Jack didn't lower the rifle. You've been trying to kill me since Solara. Why are you here? Harris looked tired, his suit scratched and scorched. Because this just got bigger than the two of us. I found out what's at the end of these trials. Jack narrowed his eyes. Go on. Harris stepped closer. It's not just treasure. It's a weapon. Something ancient, something powerful. If the wrong person gets it, whole planets could burn. Jack hesitated. And you suddenly care about that? Harris smirked. I care about staying alive. And if you think the two of us can beat whatever comes next alone, you're wrong. Jack didn't trust him, but the wolves outside were still waiting, and Harris was right about one thing, the trials were getting deadlier. Jack finally lowered his rifle. Fine. We work together. For now. Harris grinned. Good choice. They left the cave together, moving carefully across the ice. The wolves followed them from a distance but didn't attack. Back at the ships, Jack turned to Harris. You try to stab me in the back again, I won't miss next time. Harris just laughed. Fair enough. They both lifted off and broke through Frostbane's atmosphere. Jack looked at the 3 crystals now glowing on his console. 3 down, he whispered. 4 to go. But in the distance, another signal appeared on his radar, the same black, silent ship from before. It was following them. And this time, it wasn't hiding. Jack stared at the radar, his jaw tight. The black ship was no longer hiding. It flew straight toward them, silent and fast. Its engines glowed like angry eyes. Guess our shadow finally wants to play, Jack said. Harris's voice crackled over comms. We need to move. Now. Jack didn't argue. Both ships jumped to warp, racing for the 4th planet. The next stop was a volcanic world, glowing red from space. Lava rivers cut across the surface like burning scars. Jack landed on a rocky plateau. The heat was brutal even through his suit. The clue crystal from Frostbane pointed toward a cave near one of the lava rivers. Jack and Harris worked fast, moving through smoke and fire until they found the pedestal. Another crystal, another message. 4 worlds found. 3 remain. Time runs short. The words sent a chill down Jack's spine despite the heat. Outside, they heard a roar, but it wasn't an animal. The black ship had landed. Its weapons lit up the sky. Run! Jack shouted. They sprinted back to their ships as explosions shook the ground. Lava sprayed high into the air, raining down around them. Jack barely made it into Liberty Dawn before the ground collapsed behind him. He launched into the sky, flying low as the black ship gave chase. The next planet was a jungle world. Massive trees stretched into the clouds, their leaves glowing faint green. The air was thick with mist. Jack hated it immediately. Perfect place for an ambush, he muttered. He wasn't wrong. Harris almost didn't make it back to his ship after a pack of giant lizard-like predators attacked. Jack had to use Liberty Dawn's guns to scare them off, blasting holes in the jungle floor. They grabbed the fifth crystal and left fast. But every jump they made, the black ship was closer, learning, adapting. Planet 6 was the strangest yet, a world with no sunlight. The surface was pitch black, lit only by flashes of lightning from constant storms. Jack had to navigate by instruments alone. Inside the ruin, the pedestal gave off a ghostly light. When he touched the crystal, the hologram of the cloaked figure appeared once more. 6 worlds found. The last trial awaits. Prepare yourself. Then the figure faded, leaving only darkness. Jack returned to Liberty Dawn, breathing hard. Last one, he said. This ends tonight. Harris nodded over the COMM. The black ship will be waiting. We need a plan. Jack thought for a long moment. We don't outrun it this time, he said finally. We fight it. The 7th planet was a dead world, gray, cold, silent. The ruins here were bigger, almost like a city. Jack and Harris worked quickly, heading for the center. But before they could reach it, the black ship appeared overhead. Its guns opened fire, tearing apart the ruins. Jack dove for cover as the ground exploded. Split up! Jack shouted. He ran through the shattered city, dodging falling stones, until he reached the last pedestal. The crystal glowed brighter than any before. When Jack touched it, the hologram didn't just speak, it filled the entire sky. You have reached the end, the voice said. But the Guardian must be defeated. Then the pedestal sank into the ground and the black ship stopped firing. Its lights glowed even brighter. It wasn't just chasing them. It was the final trial. Jack sprinted back to Liberty Dawn and jumped into the cockpit. The black ship turned toward him, its guns locking on. All right, girl, Jack whispered to his ship. One last race. He launched into the sky, firing every weapon he had. The black ship returned fire, its red bolts cutting across space. Jack dodged hard, flying low over the ruins, making the black ship follow. Then he saw it, a canyon filled with energy, glowing from the planet's core. Jack grinned. Come get me. He dove straight into the canyon. The black ship followed. At the last second, Jack cut power and let gravity pull him lower. The black ship overshot, scraping the canyon wall. Jack hit the throttle and fired his last torpedoes. The blast ripped through the black ship's engines. It exploded in a flash of light, shaking the entire planet. When the dust cleared, the voice returned one last time. You are worthy. The weapon is yours, but use it wisely. More trials will come. A beam of light shot into the sky, scanning Liberty Dawn. Jack looked at Harris on the COMM. Guess we just passed the test. Harris smirked. Or maybe we just opened a bigger one. Jack sat back in his chair, staring at the stars. Either way, he said with a grin, I'm ready. Liberty Dawn lifted off, leaving the dead world behind and heading straight into the next adventure.